Hello, welcome back to my leadership lecture series. This is lecture number 9. Here I would be talking about two aspects of leadership, the bright side of leadership and the dark side of leadership. Let me repeat, the bright side of leadership and the dark side of leadership. Yes, there is the dark side of leadership as well. Today, be attentive. I would be discussing with you about the bright as well as the dark side of leadership. So, the bright side of leadership, leadership traits, which I call leadership traits, the bright and dark side. So, leadership traits, in what are the bright sides of leadership? A leader should be extrovert, what we call extroversion. I'm talking about these aspects and in my lectures based on what academics have said. So, number one, the bright side is extroversion. Number two, conscientiousness. Number three, agreeableness, and so on and so forth. So, what is number one? That is extroversion. What is extroversion? Extroversion means a personality dimension which it's a personality dimension describing someone who is either sociable, gregarious, and assertive. So, a leadership and a leader, this is one of the leadership qualities, a leader should be possessing this quality. This is bright side of leadership. The second one is agreeableness. Agreeableness does not mean that the leader agrees with everybody. No. Agreeableness means it's the personality dimension, a bright side of leadership, a personality dimension that describes someone who is good natured, cooperative, and trusting person. So, on the basis of this bright side, a leader should be good natured, cooperative, and trusting person. Number three, conscientiousness. This bright side of personality says that a personality dimension, this personality dimension that describes someone who is either responsible, dependable, persistent, and organized. So this is again very bright side of leadership. All right, the next one bright side of leadership is openness to experience. A personality dimension that characterizes someone in terms of imaginativeness, artistic, sensitive, and intellectualism. So, a leader must be possessing these qualities as well as having the brighter side of himself or herself. The next one is emotional stability. This is the most important brighter side of a personality which a leader must be knowing. Here, it's a personality trait or dimension that characterizes someone as calm, self-confident, secure means positive, versus someone who is nervous, depressed, and insecure, or I say negative. All right. So, after having gone through the brighter sides of leadership traits, let's move towards the darker side of leadership traits. I'm going to share, there are multiple darker sides of leadership traits. Let me share with you some important 11 very important dark sides of leadership traits. Number one, get ready. Number one, excitable. Number two, colorful. Number three, skeptical. Number four, reserved. Number five, cautious. Number six, imaginative. Number seven, leisurely person. Number eight, bold. Bold, I'll explain. So stay tuned. Number nine, diligent. Number 10, mischievous. And last but not the least, dutiful. You would be surprised how I'm saying dutiful. But yes, it is dark side of leadership. All right, let's explain them one by one. Number one, excitable. What I mean by excitable leadership trait as dark side. Such type of person is he or she goes for what I call with dramatic mood swings. Sometimes very happy, sometimes very sad. So mood swings. emotional outbursts, and inability to persist on projects. And this type of person is called excitable person. Anybody can excite or use this trait and exploit the leader. Number 2, colorful. A leadership trait means it is an unhealthy need to be in the center of attention, worrying with being noticed of his failure or incompetence. What does it mean, being colorful? If a leader is having this wish or this want to be colorful, he or she always wants to be in the center of attention. And when you are in the center of attention, then what happens? You make more mistakes. And then you are always worried about being noticed for your failure and incompetence. In this way, as a leader, you become incapable to perform your duties with your full competence. So do not be colorful. Number 3, skeptical. Excuse me. So number 3, skeptical. Skeptical dark side of leadership trait says that it is an unhealthy mistrust of others, challenging the integrity of the followers and vigilance for signs of disloyalty. Such type of leaders always look for the mistakes of others and always try not to trust others. And the most important thing of this dark side of leadership trait is that these type of leaders, they challenge the integrity of the followers. And what happens as a leader? If you challenge the integrity of the followers, then what happens? The followers or the employees, they also challenge the integrity of the leader, and that's how it turns into a dark organization. Okay, number 4, reserved. When I talk about reserved personality, I mean during the time of stress, leaders become extremely withdrawn, uncommunicative, difficult to find, and unconcerned about the welfare of their staff. So you become reserved, and then most of the times you say that leave me alone. Such leaders create bigger problems for themselves and for the organizations. Next one, what I call this, the 5th one, which is cautious. Cautious means fearful of making mistakes. Fearful of making mistakes, alienate the followers by not making decisions or taking actions on issues. So such person, such leader goes for what I call becoming so fearful that he or she becomes incapable of making or taking decisions. Always feels that maybe some mistake would have happened, maybe some blunder would happen. Okay, the 6th dark side of leadership trait is imaginative. Remember here, I'm not saying based on imagination, but imaginative. There's a big difference. His or her thought is quite eccentric. What do I mean? I mean that mostly or often he or she goes on changing his or her mind and making odd or strange decisions. So when you are imaginative in nature, you are cut off from the reality. This is why I call it the dark side of leader. Okay, let's move further. So the 7th one is called layerly. What do I mean by layerly as a dark side of leader or darker side of leadership? My dear viewers, let me tell you that layerly is a dark side of leadership trait because he or she exerts efforts only in the pursuit of his or her own agendas. I mean, here the leader, and will procrastinate or delay or not follow others' requests that are not in line with his or her agendas. That's how the leader becomes layerly. The next one is 8th one is called bold. An extreme self-lover, pride of entitlement, inability to share credit for others or with others, adopt attribution of blame, inability to learn from experience often result in resentment in the followers. So such persons are bold, and that's called dark side of leadership. Number ninth is diligent. When I say diligent, diligent means a leader who is trying to become perfect, or who believes in perfectionism. This leader frustrates and disempower, and he or she is having poor prioritization and inability to delegate effectively. The next dark side of leader or leadership trait is mischievous. A charming leader, mischievous leader, most of times tries that he or she is a charming leader, but often takes pleasure in seeing a way of breaking the communication, commitment, rules, policies. Very good in finding excuse. Always says that I made the joke, it was not a serious thing. So what happens when such leader tries to play like this? Then the followers also start mistrusting and taking the leader as non-serious. So it is, that's why it is the dark side of leader. The 11th one, the last but not the least, is dutiful. You would be surprised why I'm saying that dutiful is the dark side of leader. Because dutiful leader is outcome oriented, unwilling to refuse unrealistic requests. If somebody says do this, the leader goes on doing that, and won't stand up for their staff and burn them out as a result. A dutiful leader goes on taking more and more and more responsibilities, and then a quotation came in my mind. Somebody somewhere said that do not let your mouth overburden your back. So such a leader who is so dutiful, then what happens? He or she keeps on getting more and more burden on his or her shoulder, and then transferring or delegating or handing down that burden to his or her team members. And that's why letting them burn, he lets them burn them down as a result, instead of getting the work done or achieving the objectives. My name is Dr. Zia. I thank you very much. Today we covered the bright sides of leadership and the dark sides of leadership. Please subscribe, like, and share with your fellows and friends. I thank you very much and see you in my next lecture.